think with society today, in the United States specifically, but all around the world in the West, I think we're looking at subversion. And I think it was done intentionally in the 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I think that's when the seeds were planted. I think it was foreign intervention. Lindley, I wanted to talk to you about Trump's first 100 days.
Right.
But first, while we're off camera, while you're on your way here, you called me and you said you're in kind of a funk. I'm in kind of a funk. I've been in kind of a funk for the last couple of weeks. I don't know if it's depression or seasonal or what, but I haven't been able to get motivated to really do anything over the last couple of weeks.
Right.
What's up with you?
Just the winter, I think, got me down.
Seasonal depression. Yeah. It seems like that happens to me every freaking year.
Well, and you know that found out I had that little brain injury and all that. That kind of got me down. That kind of got me in a funk. I'm past that now, I think.
So you had a TBI. What was it? 3-4 months ago now?
October,
Jesus. It's been a while.
So almost
6 months. Yeah, 6 months. Yeah. So what had happened was you had fallen down and hit the back of your head, knocked you out.
Right.
And man, it was a pretty bad one. You had brain swelling and loss of memory and all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I've never experienced anything like that. Was it scary?
Well, no, it's not scary. I think the worst part was about a month after, I had a moment where I felt lost.
Yeah.
Like completely lost for a second. I was driving down the road and didn't know where I was for just less than a minute, probably. That freaked me out more than anything.
I bet it freaked me out too, really.
I've never had a lost feeling even when I was lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got a good sense of direction and all that.
Right. I normally can find myself, but at that moment I felt lost, and it was probably the strangest moment I ever had.
Like a surreal, is this real life kind of feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what that's like.
That only happened once. I've been getting treatments, so I'm going to a neurologist. I do have some scarring on my brain. They said it could cause maybe early onset dementia or something like that.
Which is, that's kind of scary for, I'm your friend. So it's kind of scary for me because, man, you're not young anymore. You're getting old.
No, I'm not.
You are like I've said it before on the fucking podcast, you are the oldest teenager I've ever met.
And I'm still going to be. I'm never going to
grow up.
Well, we grew up in the Toys R Us era. I don't want to grow up.
Yeah. That's pretty much was my motto for a long time when I was a kid. I used to sing that all the time. And then Peter Pan, while watch
Right.
Peter Pan don't want to grow up.
No.
Why would the fuck want to grow up? Now that I am an adult, it's like, yeah, I want to be a kid again. And when I was a kid, I was thinking, I want to be an adult. So what kind of treatments they got you doing for your TBI?
Different medications. I also got this machine that I put on my forehead at night that kind of gives me, it's like a TENS unit, but for your head.
Okay. That makes sense.
I do it 20 minutes a night. It seems to be helping. I don't have those dizzy spells anymore. I think more clearly, I think.
Does it induce like a shock, or is it like...
It's just like a TENS unit, and you can feel it working different nerves and stuff up on top of your head.
I bet that would be... So I hit a electric fence with my head one time, got knocked out, and it was like my brain reset. And I wonder if that was something similar to like what electric shock therapy is like.
I think so. That's what I told my daughter, Christina. I was like, I'm over here giving myself shock therapy. She laughs at me, but She's like, but is it helping? I said, I believe it is. You know I had frequent headaches before.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have them now.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So what kind of, we talk about treatments for TBI. Now I've never had like a real bad TBI. I mean, other than that one time I hit my head on the electric fence. But we talk about TBI treatments.
Right.
One of the greatest treatments I could think of when you told me about your injury, it was shrooms, man.
Right. I also take a mushroom supplement, the lion's mane and the other compound with the, I can't even think of it. Well, I mean, I can see the name of it, but I will mispronounce it, so I won't. You've seen them, the gummies, the mushroom gummies.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually know I know several people that do like mushroom supplements, like in the morning. You know, they'll mix them up a drink or whatever, and I'm sure it tastes good. I want to try to eat lion's mane. I've heard it. You know, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I've seen Nature's Chicken. You know, the fried chicken.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Was it beefsteak or those
Yeah.
things? Yeah, I love them things. So
those
good.
are good. Yeah,
So
and it's
good.
about time to hunt my rails now.
Yes, amen to that. We got some stuff to look forward to as far as like mushroom hunting in the Midwest goes. It's always a big thing, morel mushrooms, and I've actually talked about it on the podcast. I've only actually found one mushroom in my whole life, morel mushroom.
I found a bunch, and you ate them.
Yeah, I know.
We ate them.
Yeah.
Me and Nick Gary, shout out to Nick. He took me hunting to a good place, and we found about 2 pounds one day.
Oh, no kidding. So I know this couple that they go off the air. I'll tell you where they go because it wouldn't make sense to the listeners.
Right.
But I know this couple that they go to this one particular spot every year, and they go way back, you know, and they always come out with at least 5 pounds. And
Wow.
they go there multiple times per season. And, you know, they 5 pounds every time they go out.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So I wanted to actually talk to you about like psychedelic mushrooms. And I know like you're the one that introduced me to psychedelic mushrooms.
Right.
And I've never had a TBI, but I've, you know, in doing research about psychedelics and mushrooms and using them as treatments, I did come across where, you know, psychedelic mushrooms can help out with TBI.
Right.
And that psilocybin specifically actually helps with brain elasticity.
Right. And it gets the neurons firing in a different way
Yeah.
to create a different synapses, I guess, and
So
exercises your brain.
it's essentially helping your brain grow
Right.
and grow new pathways, new neural pathways, not old and not like repairing old, but new neural pathways. And doing that research, I was just flabbergasted because, you know, like the first couple experiences with psychedelics, it was really fun, you know, and it was a great ride, but it seemed like, you know, after the third, fourth, fifth experience, I started really understanding life differently. And I'm not sure if that was like a byproduct of like the neural pathways.
I think so.
Or, you know, like the brain elasticity, like learning more stuff and being able to hold that. Or if it was something, you know, like consciousness.
I've been studying the brain recently because of my issue.
I keep stepping on your feet. Sorry.
No, I'm used to people doing that. No, but I've been studying the brain a lot lately, and I've found some interesting things, right? The brain has way more power than we believe,
Right.
honestly. Let me think. I could show you an example.
Oh, you got your phone?
No.
Oh.
You see the natural crease in your wrist?
Yeah.
All right, line them up perfectly. And then put your hands like this. And normally one hand is shorter than the other.
Right.
You see, is it?
Yeah, a little.
Okay, and on yours? Just line those up perfectly. Only one hand shorter than the other. If it's not, that's okay. But you can hold this hand up and say, they say, grow larger 8 times, right?
Right.
Grow larger, 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 grow larger. And then when you line them up again, perfectly, it's stupid.
Well, okay. Yeah. That's wild. That is kind of neat.
That just lets you know that your mind can change reality, right?
Right.
In the body, but also you can also do it in the physical realm also.
Right. Right. Like manifestation.
Right. Think
Yeah.
it through. You know what I mean?
And the way this was always explained to me when I was younger was like mind over matter.
Right.
And is that what you basically you're speaking of? Is like manifestations of the mind?
Yes.
Okay. It's almost like the placebo effect. How if we think,
If we
we're getting
believe it,
better,
it's true.
if we believe that it's working, then it will work.
Right. Some people make that, like in religion, they call that faith. I mean,
Right.
But all those things, our mind is really strong, right? So when you look at like the political world today, some people believe one way and believe it to be true, full on. Other people believe the opposite way and believe it to be true, full on. In their mind, they're right.
Yeah, yeah. I see that a lot in politics, especially today with like the division stuff going on. Yeah.
Right. So, and there's a thing, a new term they're using. It's called my reality, and my reality,
Or my truth.
and my truth is,
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily the truth or
Reality.
reality. What it is it's their feeling.
Yeah.
Basically, I feel this way, therefore it is. That's not real, but to them it's 100% real.
Right.
And you can't change a person's mind because they really, to their core, believe it to be true.
Right.
So I think instead of trying to force people to change their mind, we empathize and just tell them your
So the only
reality or
thing that
what
I
you
see,
about that.
the only thing I see wrong with that is, okay, so take the current political climate for example. You take the current political climate, for example, and most people that I know currently that are considered right or right of center are doing that more and more with people. They're empathizing
Right.
and they're trying to see from their point of view, and it's getting them nowhere.
Right.
It-
Absolutely.
For me, it drives me nuts. There's a word for it. It's there's actually multiple words for it, but like cognitive dissonance,
Right.
like being ignorant on purpose.
True.
Because I noticed, man, their information is free most times. Like most times you don't have to search for information behind a paywall unless you're going to make money on the information that you get.
Right. Yeah, well, even then, you could go to a library.
Exactly. Exactly. And information by and large in 2025 is free for the most part.
Well, it always has been if we knew where to look. Honestly.
But for me, I feel like I'm intelligent enough to see both sides and make an informed decision. And I don't see that on both sides today.
Right, right. And that's kind of what I do also. I look at, like, I don't just watch Fox News or NPR or CNN. I watch them all because I want to, and I find myself watching more foreign news like Australia, Sky News.
Man, I
Britain's.
love Sky News, bro. I
But
love
I
Sky
want to
News.
know what other countries think about us.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And most times what I come up with is people here in the United States don't like the United States more than people around the world don't like the United States. And this is where ideology comes into play and what you were talking about, like manifesting, you can't change people's minds. However, I don't think it's necessarily our jobs to change people's minds either. I
don't.
think it is our jobs to work together as a collective and figure out an answer. And that's Democrats specifically today are not doing that. You understand, I know you understand the concept of the art of the deal.
Right.
Donald Trump's art of the deal, how he specifically negotiates. And you understand that. I know you understand that because you explained it to me.
And we've talked about it
Yeah,
several times.
Several times. What I'm seeing today is Donald Trump is playing the game. How he's always played the game. He's making decisions. He's saying divisive rhetoric. He's doing the things that he's doing for negotiation.
Yeah.
And it's a long-term, some of this stuff is a long-term,
Right. There's an end game.
Yeah.
We may not see it yet, but there's an end game.
right. People like you and I understand that.
Right.
But there's people out there that really honestly believe that he's the second coming of Hitler,
Right.
you know?
And what's funny about that is he's for less government, and Hitler was a socialist.
Right. And
So it's exact opposite.
and I don't even think Trump is 100% like nationalist. I think I heard somebody explained it the other day. Gorka, you know Sebastian Gorka.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast he did with Trigonometry yesterday, and he had said that Donald Trump really, honestly, it's not like, man, I forgot where I was going with that. What was I saying?
That he's not a true nationalist.
Yeah, okay. So he's not really a true nationalist. He sees the world for what it is and how it is currently.
Right.
And so we've got issues, China is a lot bigger of an issue than Russia. And the only thing that I wanted to talk about Trump's first 100 days. Right. The only thing that I really haven't gotten fully on board with is Trump's rhetoric about Ukraine. And it is just that, in my opinion, it's rhetoric.
Right.
And it's negotiating.
Yes.
And he's negotiating the way Putin needs to be negotiated with. You got to massage that guy. You can't
Force things.
exactly. You force things, and that's how we end up in World War III.
Right.
Right. And people that don't understand that are just looking out and not even for Ukraine's best interest. They say they want to get back to pre 1992 or pre Soviet collapse Ukraine borders.
Right.
However, what it would take to do that is other people's money, other people's defenses, other people's, and we just don't have the fight left in us. No. And it's not that we don't have the fight left in us. If we brought the fight to Ukraine, to Russia via Ukraine, if we did that, we risk all-out war because of several tensions that are going on around the world. And it's not just in Ukraine and Russia. It's not Ukraine and Russia's fight isn't just in Ukraine and Russia. It's also in Syria.
Yes.
It's also in Lebanon.
Right.
Israel and Gaza. I'm sure Russia has something to do with that shit. They're helping Iran. And
China.
and China. China's helping. I think China's playing all sides.
Yeah.
And just trying to wring the dollar out of every load kind of thing.
Right. No, and you see people do that in their daily life,
Yeah,
They'll play
absolutely.
both sides of the fence because they want to end up with whoever's winning.
I do it. I do it on the podcast sometimes, not in the sake of not trying to piss people off, but because I see two sides to the coin here.
Right. Well, but it's your job to be devil's advocate.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't say it's your job, I guess, but it's good to be devil's
Here, I'm
advocate.
gonna adjust your mic a little bit.
It's good to be a devil's advocate in a lot of cases, just to provoke thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's essentially what I'm trying to do here. It's not. I think about these things all the time, and I've gone back and forth on whether to even vote for Donald Trump this time around because of the left, because of he's a Nazi, and he's this, he's that. He doesn't care about America. I worried about those kind of things because of the status quo. However, voting for the status quo is what got us here.
Right. But here's the thing. You can call the man a Nazi. I don't believe he is.
No, I think he's far from.
Like I said, he's not a
Nazi.
socialist. He may be somewhat of a nationalist, but I don't really believe that either. I think he's more of America first, like he says.
And I don't even think he's like anti-globalist.
No.
I think if the globalist agenda was really working for the United States, he'd push that.
Right. I think he just wants to leave a better America for his grandchildren. I mean,
That's
just like the rest of us.
It's exactly what I voted for, man. That is exactly, like I said it before he won. Man, I worry about what kind of United States we're leaving for my kids. I worry about that. And I would much rather go through the pain and the heartache now
Right.
as opposed to watching or knowing that my kids aren't going to live or have any experiences that I've had growing up in the greatest empire the world has ever seen.
Yeah, that's true. You want to leave everything better for your children and your grandchildren, and that's
That brings me to my next point. The Department of Education. What is your opinion of Trump's first 100 days? I'll tell you, my opinion is I love about 99% of what Donald Trump is doing, and I don't dislike the other 1%. It's meh, but 99% I approve.
Let's talk about the Department of Education for a minute. I was born in 1968.
Yep.
I went to school pre-Department of Education.
Yep.
School was better then.
Did you have a bunch of fat ass children running around?
No.
Now I say this as a fat man, all right, but I used to be a lot bigger than what I am now.
Right.
Did you see a bunch of fat ass little children running around when you were younger?
The thing is, back then it was so different, man. You growing up in the 70s, right after Vietnam, the whole nation was patriotic.
Oh yeah. I don't remember this because I wasn't born yet.
If you weren't patriotic, you're a hippie, and you just didn't care. You just want to be left alone, free love,
Yeah. Yeah.
We went to school. We didn't have the Department of Education, but the president gave awards for aptitude, gave awards for physical fitness.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that's where actually I was going with the fat ass children remark is, hey man, I've got some big kids too. Physical education was a big deal in the 70s and 80s. Yes. There was physical education requirements that you had to have
every year throughout my whole
every child I
grammar
knew
school,
in the
middle
80s,
school, and high school.
Every child that I knew in the 80s and 90s was skinny. Being a large child back then was an anomaly. It wasn't the norm.
Right. I have one friend that was large, and he had a thyroid issue. Like,
Yeah.
they knew why he was large.
Right.
Because they made you run for an hour. They made you do calisthenics for an hour every day.
And eating wasn't a pastime.
I don't know about that.
Well,
Because I grew up in the South. We, we
ate. Yeah.
we ate.
The way I
how we
saw-
eat. You've been with me there.
The way I saw things, and it kind of started happening when I was younger, but I think it started happening way before that as well. We used to think of food as fuel. And it was for energy. You need energy, eat a cracker or something, or eat some jerky.
Right.
We didn't eat as a pastime. Like, man, I used to go on vacations, and we would plan our vacations around food. Right. We would, well, we're going to go to this restaurant. We're going to go to that restaurant. We're going to go to this restaurant. And when there was a shift from a manufacturing economy and a fabrication economy to a service economy.
Yes, there was.
And I think the service economy makes a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely.
There was a time in the United States where the manufacturing economy could support the
Service industry.
the service economy. But now we've shipped everything overseas. Or Mexico, Canada, pick your poison. It's not being made here.
Right. With NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement back in the 80s, 90s.
I really think, so I think that's an issue with the tariffs, and I'll get into that in a minute. I have a theory about the tariffs.
Oh, I do too. And we're probably close to
Pretty
the
close
line.
to the same.
Yeah.
So, for me, I seen everybody bitch about, oh, the cost of living's really high. And, I can't live off $15 an hour. Well, that may be true because we don't make anything here.
Right.
What do restaurants produce? They don't really produce anything.
There's nothing. They serve what's already produced.
Exactly. And more that production of the food is now going to other countries. We buy a lot of shit. We buy a shit ton of meat from China. Why?
Right. We shouldn't.
Why? We got cows here.
We got all the animals here.
Right. And that just, so Trump's second 100 days. It's impressive to me seeing this stuff and putting together two and two why he's having to do some of this stuff. And if everybody's losing their shit over these tariffs, my theory is he's using the tariffs to bypass NAFTA.
Yeah. Well, in part.
Because remember the last time he was president, he wanted to change NAFTA. He wanted to redo NAFTA. He didn't want to, destroy NAFTA. He just wanted to rebuild it in our favor, because it's extremely lopsided, not in our favor currently.
It's not free trade like it says in the name. It's not that.
It's we buy all your stuff and send all our stuff to you.
Right.
We don't. So now the only thing we have here in the United States is a service-based economy.
In theory, NAFTA should have worked.
In theory.
In theory. The problem with NAFTA was, as soon as we stopped tariffs from Mexico and free trade, a lot of companies moved south of the border for the cheaper labor.
Yeah.
Which hurt the American economy.
Yeah.
And that's, I honestly think the tariffs is just that, a negotiating tool.
Yes. Because, if you look at Canada, right? The high tariffs that he had put on Canada, he had came out and said, well, listen, you gotta tighten up that border.
Right. Now they got 10,000 troops on it.
And he delayed the tariffs, and he's using the tariffs as a tool to get Canada to behave a little bit.
Right. He's playing chess. I mean, that's basically what he's doing.
But what do you say to the people who are arguing against it? I know what to say to Canadians. It's like, look, it's our money. Stop, stop taking advantage.
If you want us to trade with you at a 10% tariff, then you trade with us at a 10% tariff.
That's
fair. That's fair trade.
What actually a fair trade would be is no tariffs.
Right. But I think we have to have tariffs to encourage people to buy from America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that and that alone, because we should. You see a lot of Democrats talking about buy local, but
They
then
never
bitch
actually
about
do it.
the
Yeah.
tariffs we put on foreign stuff. I mean, which is it? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's one way or the other. It's not both. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We don't really get that many things from Canada we do, but is it going to hurt us to?
And that's what makes me laugh is because they're like, oh, well, Canada, when they do their threats, of course, I can deal with that because, it's Canada. What the fuck, but what I can't stand is people here in the United States being like, well, just wait until Canada turns their back, or just wait till they shut off all the oil, or just wait till they cut off all the electricity. And I'm like, this isn't the first time we've been down this road.
Right.
Other countries have tried to bully us around before. And look, we can survive without Canada. And I hate to break it to you, but we can survive without the rest of the world too.
Absolutely.
And we've done it. Back in the early teens and 20s, we were an extremely isolationist country, but the only thing that stopped us was because we were in the middle of an industrial age and not at the end.
Right. I think we need to trade with the rest of the world just to help relationships around the world.
Yeah. And to have other cool stuff.
Right. I mean, like precious minerals, like the diamonds come from the Congo, or
Yeah.
Trading things like that's got to be open.
Yeah. And I think there are some places around the world that do things really well. Like we were just talking about, I don't know if I was talking to you or my brother about it, but like speakers from Japan.
Oh yeah, you was talking to me.
I buy my stereo equipment, Sony, and for all you Sony haters out there, it's because it's dependable. But
and interchangeable. It's plug and play. Everything's plug and play.
That's exactly right. I got a system in there it's a mismatch of all different kinds of brands and setups and, but it all works together.
Right.
But I buy stereo equipment, like Sony. Sony is from Japan, and manufactured in China, but that's a whole different conversation. But what I don't oppose buying things from other countries, and I encourage competition.
Right.
I love capitalism. I just love it. Like there's no other way to describe how I feel about capitalism. I love capitalism. And I think it's because it's kind of the best system that we have, but it encourages competition, right? And it encourages advancement, right?
And it encourages meritocracy.
There you go. The best man, the cream rises to the top.
Right.
And I think that we're trying, there's certain people in the United States or in the West in general that are trying to subvert us.
Absolutely.
And I don't like it.
There's people in our own country trying to subvert us. It blows me away when, like the pro-Palestinian protesters.
Yeah.
What they're protesting is the demise of Judaism, while
Death to America.
while saying genocide is bad. I mean,
Right. It's an oxymoron.
right. Like fighting, I've read this somewhere, said it before. Fighting, having war to promote peace is like fucking to promote virginity. It's not.
Yes. And you know, a sentiment I've been hearing about here the last few weeks here is there are people who claim to be anti-war and say all war is bad. Well, you can't be anti-war and think all war is bad.
Right.
If you're anti-war and you think all war is bad, then you believe what we did in World War II was bad.
If you think all war is bad, also you
That
just
no war is justified.
then you're just going along with the flow of everything, and that's
Yeah.
impossible. You can't even fight for what you believe or stand up for what's right.
Right. That's exactly what that means, in my opinion, too.
Right. I mean, you can think of a war like what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, or you can think of a war as me standing up to a bully.
Yeah.
It can be brought down to a two-person battle. And we have to stand up to people. First off, I'm going to protect my family
Yeah.
at all cost
Right.
with my life. I'll protect my friends at all cost. I'll protect our nation. You know, it's
And you've actually, as a matter of fact, you fought for our rights. You know, I mean, you weren't a combat soldier, right?
No.
So, you worked for our rights, I guess. But there are certain sacrifices that you gave. We won't go into all your health issues, but you had some pretty major health issues due to your service.
right. I mean, it is what it is.
And I mean, it is service. I mean, so, you know, I thank you for that. I love you for that. But like, you're not blind to the sacrifices that it does take.
Right. And a person like, let's say, for instance, Paul, or I got another friend, Jeremy. Those guys, you know, they got some prolonged issues that you don't see. Like,
Yeah. What's like special operators, you know?
the worst wounds never heal. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's not,
exactly.
and a lot of the worst wounds don't leave a physical scar.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. I think with society today in the United States specifically, but all around the world in the West, I think we're looking at subversion. And I think it was done intentionally in the 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I think that's when the seeds were planted. I think it was foreign intervention.
Yes. I
And
agree.
hey, if you don't believe in conspiracies, don't believe in them, right? But when people tell you who they are, you fucking listen.
Right.
And
Especially if they show you who they are. I mean,
exactly. And the Soviet Union did just that.
right.
And I believe that
Without apologies. They did just that.
I believe that we're looking at a combination of like a 1-2 punch from Russia and China subverting our nation or trying to subvert our nation. And these people out there.
And other aspects like Iran and
Well, absolutely.
if you think that none of those people that crossed the border, those almost 20 million
Yeah.
in the last 5-6 years, if you think none of those people weren't here to harm us, you got to be delusional.
And that's exactly, I wanted to get into that too. We've talked about immigration or immigration issues on the podcast before. in my opinion, we can't just sit back and do nothing. I talked to a guy on the podcast the other day, and he had said that, like, we don't need to round all these people up, you know, and we don't need mass deportations. I agree with that, but I also disagree with that because I know the statistics of what came in, and I've like actually talked to not CIA operators, but SOF operators, and I've talked to intelligence, and there are, look, man, they've admitted to 1,500 terrorists being lost
Right.
at the southern border. That's just what we know of.
And
That's
how many did it take to cause 9/11?
What was it, 20?
No, in country,
I would,
9?
yeah. No, was it 9?
9 people.
Yeah. And that's insane. So, you know, I think
So
of
what can 1,500 do?
spread out over the entire nation.
Especially if they're spreading their propaganda, getting others on their side.
Right. Well, if you think of 1,500 people, you divide that by 10 cities, it's 150 people. And it only took 9 to perpetrate 9/11. Think about that, guys. You know?
That's crazy. I mean, it's
And do we need mass deportations? I think at this point it's so bad that may be the only way to deal with it. How do you go through 20 million people and vet them all?
you can't. You can't. I think they're going about it the right way. Honestly,
Well, we were talking about it yesterday. You were in Aurora, Colorado a few weeks ago.
yes.
And you saw firsthand what the media wouldn't show us.
Right.
I wish you would have taken pictures, brother. But
It's kind of crazy. You couldn't go into a grocery store and find English-speaking patrons just about. It was that ridiculous. The apartment building that they talk about is really run down. Windows busted out, doors kicked in. It's just sketchy. The whole
okay,
place
so you
is
know where
sketchy.
McAllen, Texas is?
Yes.
It's been on the news. That's where my mother-in-law's at.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. And we drove down there to drop her off and everything. And I was pretty impressed how clean the place was. It was really, you know, it wasn't like the rest of Texas. But Texas is really fucking dirty.
Right.
But it was pretty decent down there. And there was a lot of Spanish speaking there, but it wasn't overwhelming. It was mostly English speaking, but it wasn't. But you're saying in the middle of the country, in the middle of the damn country, in Aurora, Colorado,
Right.
you had experienced
Jenny and I went to a grocery store.
being in Mexico.
It was wild. You know, I don't really feel like a minority anywhere,
Yeah.
but I could say in that instance I probably was. I
Yeah.
don't care. People are people to me. The
Yeah.
only race I care about is the human race. That if you speak a different language, we can find a way to communicate. You know, it's none of that bothers me. What bothers me is good and evil. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I was just thinking about this yesterday. Man, we've got like minds here. I was just thinking about that yesterday, and like that interview with the Sebastian Gorka did with Konstantin Kaizen. You know
Right,
who?
right.
That's trigonometry. He was talking about ideologies, and Konstantin Kaizen asked him a question, and he or made a statement. But anyway, he said, well, I don't have an ideology. And I was like, man, I kind of identify with that because clearly I have biases,
Right.
but my opinion can be changed. I'm not unreasonable.
Right. Well,
But my ideology I'm flexible. You know, I don't really have. I look at things for what they are, not how I see them.
Right. I don't feel like I have one either. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm kind of stuck to, but going throughout life, we learn different things, we feel different things, we experience different things, so our thought processes evolve.
Yeah.
Right. So for someone to be stuck strict to an ideology, I think is asinine, honestly, because why would you?
Well, I start to question myself at that point, right?
Right.
So if I come up against extreme resistance, you know, I am forced to step out of my ideology and try to understand
Why I think the way
why
I do.
these people are screaming at me, or you know what I mean? That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to shift my view and understand from a different point, because I must be wrong if these people are screaming at me. Okay? And then I take under advisement what they're screaming
Right.
and research. And I'm like, no, actually I'm right. You know, I talk to other people. I get other opinions outside of just my own circle. You know, that's part of the reason why I started this podcast, is so I could talk to people all over the world and share my curiosity with the world.
My wife is, she's an HR lady. She
Yeah, my old lady is too now.
she goes with this thing. She calls it the 5 whys. All right, this is happening. Why is this happening? Because, all right, find the root cause of everything.
Right.
And that works with
A lot.
thought process. It works with, okay, I'm feeling tired. Why am I feeling tired?
Well, I didn't get enough sleep
I didn't
yesterday.
get enough sleep last night. Why didn't I get enough sleep? Because I was up on my phone, or I was watching TV, or whatever.
And
Well,
so
why did I do that?
That solution is that, like, get rid of the phone.
You keep backing away till you find the root cause.
Yeah.
Okay, that works on everything in life, dude. I learned it because I worked in maintenance.
Yeah.
Why does this part keep breaking down? Right, this one part. Why does this one bearing keep burning up so much?
Right.
So that's an anomaly, because it doesn't burn up on this machine that much. It's just this one. Why is it burning up? Well, because this lubricant thing's not working. Why isn't that lubricant thing not working properly? Well, because this pump is out. Why is this pump out? You know what I mean?
Right.
So you go to the root cause. When you fix the root of the issue,
You stop having
everything
issues. Yeah.
works better.
Yeah.
And that's
So do you think maybe that could be the biggest issue with how we got here with our current situation in politics, is because instead of fixing
the root cause.
the root cause, they would treat the symptoms.
Absolutely. They throw our politicians all the way across the board. Politicians are crooked. That's my true belief.
Yeah.
They've, like you said before, I wish they wore a jacket like in racing where they had all their sponsors.
I can't remember where I stole that from. It's maybe Robin Williams.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think if we do away with lobbying, right?
Yeah.
I would listen to this guy that's in England. He's like, the craziest thing about America to him is our pharmaceutical companies having advertisements.
Yes, man, that
He
drives
said
me
that
nuts.
happens nowhere else in the world. My wife and I were discussing that last night, and she's like, yeah, but let's say in Spain or in France or in Canada, for instance, they got free health care. It doesn't matter what the pharmaceutical companies advertise, they're getting what they're getting.
You know why they have free
Here
health care?
we can shop for what's best for us.
You
We
know-
have a say in our health care.
You know why they have free health care?
56% taxes.
That and the United States covers their security, which is very, very expensive.
Right. But, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Like I said, that's ridiculous. They do peddle drugs over the airways.
Yeah.
And she said, but over there, they don't have an option. They can't advocate for themselves in their health care because it's free. The government controls it 100%. If you need an MRI, I saw a video from a lady last night. She's got a brain tumor. She lives in Canada. Her next appointment is in February 2026.
She's likely to be dead by then.
Right. But she can come over here and get treatment immediately.
Yeah. She can come here and get treatment immediately, whether she's got money or not.
Right.
Because those of us who have money end up paying for those who don't. But
well, I mean, the thing is,
it's not a perfect system, but it's better than most.
You go to emergency room here, you're getting seen, you're getting treated, and then they ask you for your insurance.
Yeah.
It's at the end.
Yeah.
You're already treated. They might do it in the middle if you need, if it's a decision on whether you get an X-ray or an MRI.
Yeah.
They might ask you in the middle of that, but you're still getting treatment.
Right. Especially if it's an emergency.
Right.
Regardless of your ability to pay.
There, you're on a wait list. Period.
And the doctor's only making $40,000, $50,000 a year.
Right.
With bonuses.
So it's about perspective, I guess. Everything is.
Well, I think...
Am I willing enough to give up my freedom for having a say in my
Right.
health care?
Yeah.
For having free health care? I'm not.
No, I mean, not free health care. No. Am I willing to give up freedoms for, am I willing to give up, if I was in another country, would I be willing to give up some of the freedoms that I have there for the freedoms I have here? Absolutely.
I don't. It's my granddad used to say, if it's free, it's probably bad.
Right. Well, there's nothing that anybody could give me, right? Short of, enough money that I'll never have to work ever again, short of that, there's nothing they could give me that I wouldn't trade my life that I have here in the United States. There's nothing that the United States government can give me to make me give up what I have now. Right. They can't even protect me to the point. They can't even protect me enough where I'd be like, yes, have all my stuff, take all my things. I don't own anything. You just take care of me. They cannot protect me enough for that. Right?
Right.
No other government around the world can either.
Right.
And they give up false sense of security for all of your shit.
Right.
That's communism, brother.
That's communism, socialism. That's both. I mean, socialist always leads to communism. I mean, honestly.
And basically what you're doing is you're giving the government body control of everything. And when they mismanage it, and they will mismanage it, when they mismanage it, everybody's fucked.
Right. And they will. I mean.
Well, look at Social Security. Like right now, there's a big issue about Social Security. Donald Trump says, I'm not going to touch Social Security, but we might reform it.
You need to reform it if people that are on the list, 150, 200 years old, still getting...
Right. Now, I don't necessarily know what to believe on that aspect because there's people on the internet that says, okay, this is the reason why it says that. But here's the thing. It's 2025. Why isn't that shit fixed? Why does it say? Why is there enough confusion that somebody might think that's what it means?
Right. The appearance of an impropriety is an impropriety in itself.
Exactly. And Social Security didn't start out as a criminal Ponzi scheme.
No.
It didn't start out that way, but it's starting to get that way.
Right.
Because the government will borrow, and they will borrow, and they will borrow against Social Security.
Yeah.
And then they will say, well, hey, we're going to pay it back with interest. But then it just gets added to the list of bills, right?
Right.
And the United States government owes itself. Right. We owe ourselves another $1 billion. and that's exactly how it works. These politicians, they don't give a fuck about you.
Right. And I'm down for looking into how some of these politicians are multi-millionaires when they make
All of them,
such a small salary.
even the ones I like.
Even the ones I like. I mean, some of them I get. They wrote a bestseller.
Yeah.
I get that. You got money from that. But
The insider trading is insane.
insider trading is insane.
I saw a graph the other day.
There's a new app where you can trade with how they're trading.
Exactly, yes. And it's very successful. I forgot the name of that one, or else we'd give him a shout out. But Joe Rogan posted something like a graph yesterday, as a matter of fact, that showed S&P 500 growth, and S&P 500 growth, and then Congress's growth.
Right. Ridiculous.
Well, we've sold our souls to the corporations. The corporations in the United States have a lot of power. And that lobbying you were talking about,
Is why.
we allow giant corporations, even foreign corporations, ladies and gentlemen. There are foreign lobbyists in Washington
I mean, Burisma, for example.
changing laws in
one.
the United States to benefit them, and it doesn't benefit us
At all.
at all.
It benefited some people, but we won't go into that.
Well, we can go into that if you want to, because if we're being honest, if I had that kind of power, I'd probably use it too.
Right, and that's the thing. Most people would.
I don't agree with Trump's 34 felony convictions, but I don't agree with Hunter Biden's charges either.
No.
I don't think I would have even gotten arrested for what he did, or for what they charged him with. It's not what he did, because what he did was absolutely criminal, but they just,
Oh, they looked over that.
they can't prove it without implicating themselves, is what I think is the issue.
Right, and that's what I think the whole deal is with like holding back those JFK files, holding back the Martin Luther King Jr. files, holding back the.
I think that's the only reason that we haven't found anything out about Trump's misgivings, and I believe there are plenty of them out there,
Oh, absolutely.
because they can't snitch on him without implicating themselves.
I mean, there's dirt on everyone.
Yeah. I
mean,
mean, there's a lot of dirt on me. but-
That's what a lot of people say. You can look at the person and search for the crime, or you see a crime and look for the person. Either way, you're going to find an answer.
Yeah.
And that's with all of us. None of us are without sin.
Exactly.
Period.
And he without sin cast the first stone,
Right. So
and that's why nobody's getting stones thrown at him.
the Epstein list still.
That bothers me. That really bothers me. Like, I don't think there's like an Epstein list, but I think there's evidence that nobody will let us see because of the implications.
Of some high-ranking individuals in this country and other countries.
Get rid of them. The world doesn't work that way. These people run our lives.
Right.
And we keep voting for them. And Donald Trump is so anti-establishment.
Yeah.
He has taken the pulse of people like me in America. I'm just fucking tired of it all. Don't touch the Constitution. You can do the rest. Whatever you want with the rest.
Do away with the rest of it. I feel that way. 100%. You know that. I've told you from day one I met you, I'm a constitutionalist. I like less government.
The
More
government's
freedoms.
gotten so fucking bloated, man. Like, okay, the jobs report that comes out every year. How many of those jobs are government jobs that they just added to?
That was crazy last year's jobs report. Most of them were government jobs.
Yeah, and that's every fucking year that happens.
Hardly
every
any of
year.
them showing up to work.
Exactly. No-show jobs, which, like, did you know Joe Biden was a teacher at one time?
I heard that.
is a no-show job.
No-show job.
He got from the mob, is from what I understand anyway.
Right. At what was that university that had his office at?
I don't fucking know. It was something I heard in passing, and I looked it up, and it's true.
Scranton.
It's Scranton, Pennsylvania. No, that shit does it does drive me nuts though. And it's not that I'm anti-establishment. It's just the establishment has made me anti-establishment, if that makes sense. Like,
Absolutely.
I believe in cops. I believe in law and order. I believe in the justice system. I believe in all that shit.
I think the problem is we 100% accept corruption. 100%. All of us do. We know it's there. We don't really do anything about it.
Here's the thing. In Russia, right? That's how Russia does things.
Right.
It's built in, right? It's built in here, but we talk shit on them for doing it.
Right. And it's from local levels all the way up to the highest levels. Corruption is embedded in our society.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, just think about remember the school stipend thing here?
Yes.
St. Joe?
Yes.
That was a big deal.
But here's the thing, though. I think if we could get, like, honest people, right? Like, let's just say Nancy Pelosi tomorrow came out and said, hey, guys, listen, I've been doing insider trades, but in my case, it's not illegal, okay? And I'm going to keep doing that until you force me to stop, okay? If they were honest about it, I'd be like, go on with your bad self, Nancy.
Right.
You know, be rich. I don't care. But she's not honest about it. She's like, we're not doing anything. I'm not insider trading. You're fucking crazy.
Well, she's not. She's giving
It's her husband.
information to her husband.
Right.
And he is. I mean, it's happening. We know it's happening.
Yeah.
It has been accepted for so long that
Well, Donald Trump was a big part of it in the 70s and 80s
absolutely
in New York. I mean, he couldn't do anything without working with the mob.
right. Well,
And
even in
so he
Kansas
did.
City, you couldn't do anything without working with the mob.
I mean, let's be honest. You probably still can't.
Probably. If you're going to do a big project, there's some corruption involved.
Oh, yeah.
Period. Backdoor deals, that happens daily.
Yeah.
No matter what profession you're in, no matter what. It's just a part of life.
Yeah.
The problem is we have accepted it to the point that you say, well, it's just a part of life. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that Doge, but I love it. I love the fact that they're finding millions and millions, billions of dollars
Well, for me, it's twofold
that are
because,
inappropriate.
like USAID, I understand the purpose of USAID.
Well, we both do. We talked about it.
And I'm not 100% against shit like that. So so I have a certain moral flexibility. Okay. Like,
Right.
I know these other fucking countries are doing it. We better do it too. You know?
Absolutely. I know, like, a lot of that money was for just what we were talking about, backdoor deals,
Yeah, grease and palms.
grease and palms.
Well, you take it, for example, the $20 million, I use this a lot, the $20 million to Iraq for Sesame Street.
Right.
Well, it doesn't cost that much to produce it here in the United States. I don't know the real numbers, but come on, it's a bunch of fucking puppets on a public broadcasting channel.
Right.
It's PBS that runs Sesame Street, right?
That gets most of their money from donations. What would they say?
I think it's
3% from the government.
Yeah, I think it's less than 10%. And so mostly it
Well,
really
they were
is
talking about it yesterday. And,
yeah, because they're wanting to dig into it. Doge's wanting to dig
Right.
into it a little bit. But I cannot imagine it costing $20 million to put Sesame Street in Iraq. I can't see it.
right, that money's allocated for that, but it's really going to something else. I mean, you know that, and I know that.
It's to grease somebody's palms to, we'll just say it's for Sesame Street, but we're going to implement this program instead. Or
Or we'll do Sesame Street, but
here's what you got to do for
Here's
us.
what you got to do for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's way of life, dude. That's,
Yeah. Then that is sad that we
just
accept
accept
it.
it.
Yeah. And I think the vast majority of it accept it because we understand that if we were in that position, that'd probably be us.
Well, honestly, I don't want full transparency. Some things should be classified and overly classified.
If for nothing else, just to give us something to talk about.
To protect us.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to code to my front door, if you don't live in my house.
Yeah, if you want in, you're going to get in. Yeah. But
Right.
we just got to keep honest people honest.
Right. That's what my dad used to say. Locks only keep
My dad
honest
said
people
that
out.
too. Yeah.
And he also said, I got a master key to every door in the bottom of my shoe.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that one too.
But the thing is, we know that we have to do some things in secret. So full transparency, out of the question.
Right.
Evidently they put that guy from the Atlantic on the signal.
Yes.
message
Okay. Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah. That whole text. Was it a screw up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a bad screw up? Probably not.
Here's my thing. We talked about it yesterday too. I'm not sure it wasn't done purposely. Just
Well, we haven't seen all of the messages, right? But the ones that I have seen are sketch. Like, that doesn't seem like, it's not how people talk to each other, right? It's not informal like it would be in a text message, chain.
right.
It's formal, and I just can't see people talking to each other like
And on
that.
top of that, there was nothing that seemed classified. Confidential, maybe, but classified.
Yeah, secret. Yeah, but classified, no. And there is a difference between secret and classified.
It sounded more like bragging than. I mean, what I've read, they sounded more like braggarts.
I mean, I was excited that day. Like when I found out, it wasn't for the loss of life or anything like that, but we're pushing back,
Finally,
Right.
and it's not just for our benefit.
That motherfuckers still have like American hostages.
Right. But it's not just for our benefit. It's for the world's benefit to be able to go through that canal.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't want pirates attacking anyone. I mean,
Not even the Chinese.
Not even the Chinese.
That's okay. So free navigation, freedom of navigation, like
right. In international waters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do that not just to help ourselves, but it helps everyone,
The whole world.
including
China, Russia, Iran,
our
Iraq.
enemies. Yeah, not even enemies. I don't think we have any really legit enemies except for jihad at this moment.
Yeah, and that covers ISIS.
We have adversaries like China. We don't have an enemy relationship with China. We have an adversarial relationship with China sometimes, but most of the time we work with China. Well, it's kind of like Europe and funding both sides of the Ukraine and Russia war.
Right.
They have to buy Russian gas, and they're funding
Ukrainian
Ukraine.
minerals.
Right.
So it just is what it is. That's
And
Sad but true.
for Europe to come out against Donald Trump and everything that he's saying, and without even thinking about the hypocrisy of what they're doing, when Donald Trump warned the entire continent of Europe, hey, stop depending on Russia. You guys need to be more independent. If you don't want to be more independent, buy shit from us. Well, that's why he said that.
Right.
He said that because, hey, Russia's over there getting a little too big for their britches. They're getting antsy, I can just see it. I can smell it. They're wanting to do something.
Right.
And Putin told us. He's like, hey, I want that country over there.
Yeah. And if they try to join NATO, I'm coming because I don't want
And that
somebody on my doorstep.
And I don't believe the whole provocation issue. I don't think the United States really necessarily provoked Russia. I don't think that's how that works.
Here's what I've read. Part of the agreement when the Soviet Union broke up, right? When USSR broke up, that all these little countries could have their
Independence.
solidarity or whatever, independence. But if one of them failed, they go back to Russia, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand, before all of this happened, Crimea's governing body fled. They failed.
Yeah.
And so per the previous agreement, Crimea was supposed to go back to Russia.
Well, here's my pushback on that. They fell because of Russia.
Right, but
I mean, we don't
don't
say
know the whole
technicalities. We're going to say technicalities win on like if we're going to use that kind of logic, then Ukraine should be in NATO.
I agree. I agree there should be a whole world union where we just get in a room and talk shit out. You know what I mean?
We have
I don't want
that.
a one world government.
We have that. We have that in Minsk. Shit, what's that country? Minsk, Belarus,
Right.
and Switzerland.
But nobody uses it.
I agree. I agree with that.
We sign all these treaties that mean nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, from the beginning of time, all these treaties we signed, they're just not. They're worth less than what the paper it's printed on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think for the most part, politicians are the reason why. You know, treating symptoms and then
Right.
figuring out, oh, shit, I shouldn't have done that. You know, and then been like, I can't afford it.
Right. And that's a problem we've had all over the world. We just throw money at issues and not regulate what we're throwing money at.
Yeah.
We need checks and balances on every dollar that goes out of our government.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, this is what I'm giving this to you for. I want to see results. I want to be involved in the spending of it. You know what I mean?
And in my opinion, the checks and balances is why we see the extreme rhetoric in particular from Trump. I think because of the checks and balances that have been put on him.
Right.
And they're not, what really drives me nuts is they're not even trying to work with him. They're saying, no, you can't do that, but we're not going to help you fix it either. You
Right.
know?
Schumer literally said that on the floor, right?
Yeah. That's what really drives me nuts. Everything that he's going, like everything he does is being stopped. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
They're going to court. They're getting things like sending a bunch of
Illegal
immigrants,
illegal violent criminals. That one claim.
gang members, Tren de Aragua,
And MS-13.
yes, down to El Salvador,
El Salvador
right?
to that prison.
They're trying to stop all that stuff, but they won't give us solutions.
Or a reason why they're trying to stop it.
Right.
It's just because the orange man
No
said,
due process. And they say no due process. Well, these motherfuckers have been locked up for, some of these motherfuckers have been locked up for a while. Like they've had their due process already. They have been deemed illegal immigrants. And illegal is the key there.
illegal violent immigrants in most cases, charged with rape, murders.
And then I liked
theft.
a thing, a victim's niece said on TV. She's like, where's our due process? Where's Laken Riley's due process?
Right. That's
And I don't want to sound hateful or mean or anything like that. I just want to use the tools at our disposal to keep us safe.
absolutely. Like we were talking about earlier, me and my family, I'm going to protect my family first. That means I'm putting locks on the doors. I got a dog. I got a
Handful of weapons,
Yeah.
small arsenal.
outside of that, my neighborhood. Then next my city. Then next my state. Then next my country. You know what I mean?
But that doesn't mean you can't have pride in the whole thing.
And then next after that, the whole world. I want the world at peace. We're not going to ever have that. There's always going to be disagreements. And the thing with negotiations, it's not going to be right unless everybody's unhappy. That's the truth.
And
But you got to find middle ground.
there we go. I had a podcast the other day, Finding Common Ground. So I was talking to a lefty. He's a
Right.
great kid. Great, like I call him kid. He's a full-grown adult, but he just got out of school. It was a great conversation, and that's the guy that I was talking about with the immigration policies.
Right.
I didn't push back on what he said because I kind of agree with him. Like, I don't think we should have to do mass migrations, but the problem is that's probably the best solution we have at this point. Or mass
It's
deportations.
hard to weed out the bad from the good, right?
Yeah.
There are some people that are here, like we talked about. There's guys here that have applied for visas. They came in the right way. They made a mistake, so now they got to be deported.
Or they made a mistake on their paperwork and have to start all over from.
Or they were at the wrong house that got raided.
Yeah.
You know, he's guilty because of the company he kept.
There are going to be people that fall through the cracks.
Right.
And we have to just explain, all right, to not only our citizens, but the immigrants that are coming here, when we deport them, be like, I don't want to do this, but I'm in a position where I have to. All right? Leave now, okay, and come back and try again.
Well, like they changed that app so they can. You know, if you go to that app, sign
Why
up.
why are we allowing people to wait in country while they're waiting for their court dates?
I don't know.
That seems insane to me.
I don't know. And they're not vetted. I mean,
Exactly. That way they're vetted. They vetted themselves.
right.
They put their name on the app.
Right.
That's insane to me.
I'm a good guy. Check.
Right. No, but we had a great conversation, and it was all about like, how I introduced myself to him when I started out the podcast is like, hey, what I normally do with my guests is I do a little initial research, but not enough to, where I know everything about you, but I find a little bit of common ground with each guest, and I let the conversation go naturally from there.
Right.
If it's, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, the longest I've recorded is 4. So let's go and let's do this. That's pretty much how I explained it to him. And I'm not obtuse enough I am right of center, right? But I'm not unreasonable. But there are a lot of people who are on the right and on the left
That are unreasonable.
and they refuse to see the other person's side. They refuse to find common ground.
I think I've always been kind of center, but the lines for right and left move.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've ever moved from center.
I don't think I have
Like
either.
right now, I am right of center because
The center line moved.
The center line.
They moved the goalposts.
right. And then
Yeah.
that happens approximately every 20 years if you look through history.
Yeah.
It's a recycled thing. It'll go this way, then it'll go back this way, and then
Right.
it'll go back this way. It's a vicious cycle.
Have you heard of like the fourth turning or something like that?
Yes.
So that's like we're right in that stage right now where my generation is supposed to be the heroes.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, man. Have you met people my age? They're all morons.
Well, the premise is rough times create strong people,
Yeah.
which creates better environment, which creates weak people, which creates rough times, which
Yeah.
create...
It is a vicious cycle. But I do. My wife is one of the toughest people I know, right? My wife. I watched this lady. Now this was almost 20 years ago now, but I watched her. Our table broke.
Right.
And it was a glass table. And she had to reach through the table that was broken to get her car keys. She was late for work. She didn't have time to clean up the table. I was going to do that. But she'd reached through the table and cut her arm, right? Left a gash in her arm about, I don't know, 4, 5, maybe 5 inches long and deep. It was about a quarter of an inch, half inch deep. I mean, it was deep. She didn't even have like a real important job or anything. We just needed money. I watched her tape that thing back together and go to work, right? That doesn't exist anymore.
No.
That doesn't, like, you don't see people with now, should she have done that? Probably not. She probably needed stitches. Was it a big deal? Nah, probably not. But she was tough about it.
Right.
She didn't stop what she was doing, throw herself on the floor, start crying, and demand to go to a hospital. She didn't do all that. She's like, well, I got to go to work, so fuck
Just
it.
don't have to wait.
Right. Exactly. I don't know any of the younger generations that do that.
No. Nowadays,
They sneeze and it's I got to call in for this week.
I got trauma. I got to take a break.
Oh, hey man, you know what? How long we been recording?
I don't know.
What's that say over there? It's on the red at the top.
34.
You know what? We've actually been doing this for a while. You want to stop or you want to take a break?
Well, we can stop for today and come back another day.
All right. Hey,
How's that?
I love talking politics and shit with you. So I love talking life with you. And we definitely got to do this again because this is a great conversation. Another one for the record books. I feel like I didn't interrupt as much this time as I did in the past.
I don't think but you and I have always been on a level where we could communicate. And like you said, we've open-minded. We've both changed each other's thoughts on things depending.
Just today, I probably said some stuff that you didn't think about. I know you've said some stuff I didn't think about. So, man,
Absolutely.
listen, if you guys could take anything away from this podcast in particular, maybe we may have jumped the gun on common ground, but the thing is, you've got to find that common ground. You've got to work with each other, you know, instead of like with our current president, instead of saying orange man bad, let's say, okay, why is he doing this? And let's find that root cause, right?
All right. If he wants to stop corruption, let's get together with him and find ways we both want to stop corruption.
Exactly.
We start there. If
If
he
he-
wants to stop the war in Ukraine, let's have a conversation with him. How we can give and take on both sides, because that's what it's going to take.
And hey, we're not even saying cut out the snarkiness, but that would be helpful.
Yeah, because being mean either way, it's not good. People get offended, and we're in the year of hurt feelings. I mean, it's my opinion
I think
that your
tide's changing.
feelings are your own. You're responsible for your own feelings.
That's right.
Most people that really don't care.
That's right. That's a good one. We might name this I Don't Care. But with that, guys, it's Lindley Vires. We'll sign off. See ya.